Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 1-year anniversary of the Will You Stop podcast. I am Brandon, and I am joined in quarantine. First, let's start with Tom. What's up, Tom?
What's going on?
And, of course, my tag partner for the last year on this podcast, Avi. How we doing?
Pretty good. So I'm getting some information that today there was that big meeting with all the commissioners for all the leagues. And Vince McMahon was there, Dana White was there, and apparently this had nothing to do with when the leagues were going to reopen, but this is all them basically asking Trump that they can get some money to stay open. So it wasn't the meeting we're all hoping for, unfortunately.
And lastly, we're joined by the masked man today, Izzy. What's up, Iz?
Good to see you all in quarantine. This sucks. But what can you do?
Izzy, are you sitting there by yourself wearing a mask?
I am. I have to be in this. This the theme. We have to be in the moment. We're in quarantine, baby.
Oh. All right, well, I'm going to clue everyone in who's listening, who's watching. There has been a few topics of discussion that Tom, Izzy, and myself have been literally fighting over for the last 2.5 weeks. and to settle the debates once and for all, today, playing the role of judge, jury, and executioner on all said topics will be the professor himself, Avi. I'm going to list off the topics one by one. We're going to discuss them. Avi's going to make a final decision on who's correct and who's incorrect. And we all agree Avi's word is final. Correct, boys?
No, I never agreed to that.
Your bottom boy did.
He is the judge. I mean, he is the professor. The man knows all, and I think he will side with us because Brandon's case is weak at best.
My case is actually factual, unlike yours. But let's start. Okay, I'm going to start with Avi. For people who aren't sure, describe to me what exactly in professional wrestling means someone is a draw or someone is over.
If you're looking at it from a draw point of view, a draw is the people, well, even over the same thing. People are interested in watching them. People are following the character. People are into the character. Merchandise, of course, sells. They're being put in important roles, if not main event roles. A good example, Steve Austin in 98. You know, there's your main event guy. That guy is over, obviously. You know, then there are guys that are kind of iffy if they're over. I'll give you an example. I've been saying this for years. Eddie Guerrero in 2003. Was he over? Yes, but was he a draw? It can be debated. I don't think you have to be both. I think you can be a draw and not be... And actually, I'm sorry. I think you can be over and be a draw, but I also think you can be over and not be a draw, if that makes sense. Where I think just because you're over doesn't mean your merchandise is flying off the shelves. But let's be honest. As big as John Cena was, you didn't see John Cena merchandise all over the place. You know, the NWO was over and that was a draw. Steve Austin was over and a draw. The Rock was over and a draw. Triple H was over and a draw, especially as a heel. You look at a guy, Chris Jericho, is he over? Yes. Was he a huge draw? I didn't see that many Chris Jericho shirts floating around the arenas. So I don't think one really has to go with the other.
All right, so that brings us to the point of debate, is that in the WWE specifically, was or is Bill Goldberg a draw? That's the conversation that we've been having. The boys have said that Goldberg is over. Goldberg's a draw. Goldberg moved the needle for WWE. I've been under the contention that he has never been over like that in WWE. He's never moved any needle. He's never put asses in seats. He's never brought ratings. So that's our first topic of discussion. Judge Avi?
Goldberg's tough because Goldberg is a name. He's a brand name. People know who he is. I just don't think with the WWE fans he was ever over like that. You don't see Goldberg T-shirts all over the place. I just don't think he's the draw like that. I get where they're coming from. I think his name is big, but he's not a draw and he's not over, if that makes sense. I think he's a big name. I think he's a marquee name. I just don't think the average wrestling fan goes, oh, yay, Goldberg is wrestling tonight. I think 20 years ago that was the case. I just don't think it's the same way now. But I'll be honest, I think he's one of those examples of guys that came in and was not over with the WWE universe. Now, if he comes in April of 2001, is that different? It might be. Remember, he didn't come in until what? April of 2003?
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 years after the fact. If he would have came in, I think he's one of those guys that if he would have came in exactly when exactly when WCW was bought, if he would have came in with that initial crew, I think he would have been much more over. I think the fact that it took them 2 years, I think took a little bit of the shine off of Goldberg.
Tom?
I disagree because I think that they really, really were out to bury the guys when they first came over in 2001. I think it was like a big FU to WCW. And I really think as much as you can argue that they buried Goldberg, which it's tough to argue that, I really think in 2001 when they were fresh off the Monday Night Wars, I think it would have been a lot worse for Goldberg. Because if you look at what happened with like Buff Bagwell and some of the others that came over, they just completely, and DDP, they put them in shit storylines and they gave them no chance to succeed. I mean, at least
Right.
Goldberg had.
Here's the thing. DDP was over. When he took that mask off, the crowd popped for him. Just because they got written badly is not the wrestler's fault. DDP came in, he was still a monster over. Bill Goldberg, if he would have came in 2001, still would have been over. It's not their fault they were putting shitty storylines.
No, I'm saying that's what would have happened, though. He would have got put in a shitty storyline like DDP did. I mean, supposedly I heard on a couple of interviews that DDP was completely declawed. He wasn't allowed to do the diamond cutter symbol after his debut, and he was in just a complete dead-end storyline with someone.
But that's his fault. If you look at DDP, they had it on Instagram a couple of days ago. When he came in at first, his pop was off the charts. Had they ran DDP the right way with a feud with Undertaker, that would have been a money feud.
But they weren't going to do it the right way because they still needed to prove that they won and they needed to rub their face in the defeat.
Yeah, but that's not the conversation. You can't blame a guy if he doesn't get over, if he's not given a chance to get over. If a guy
Is Goldberg given a chance to get over?
If a guy like DDP comes in and the place explodes and you do nothing with him afterwards, that's your fault. That's not DDP's fault. Had DDP stayed the course and feuded with Undertaker and kept his character, that guy probably would have won a world title at some point.
Izzy, what did you say?
So Goldberg, they didn't give him a real chance to. They changed his music, and kind of like DDP, they declawed him as well. It was like they didn't push him. That music was part of his character, whether you want to argue about that or not.
That was too...
Right, froze on us.
I froze, yeah.
He was losing the debate, so he was...
Yeah, okay.
Tell him he said that when he gets back on.
Yeah.
Tell him he said that.
Hold on. I got to...
Yep.
There's technical difficulties. Let me get him back on.
Yep. Yeah, some bad internet going around here. I think too many people are on Wi-Fi. Could be also. VPNs are all fucked up.
Yeah,
I want to just disagree with that. I think Goldberg was given the chance. I thought Goldberg was pushed in 2000.
But Vern, they changed his music though, and that was a big part of his character. They got rid of that part, and that was huge. You know that. Come on, that's like almost the sound of the glass breaking with Austin. Same exact effect. When they changed Austin's music to that stupidity, that electric guitar crap, I felt like that kind of killed him a little bit. Don't you think?
The
Big part of the
disturb.
character. Yeah.
Hold on. I got to... He's blaming me.
He's what?
He says he's like, good job. I'm like, it's not me. No. Let me try to get him back here. But I'm going to disagree. I don't think the music itself is the reason why, it happened. He got pushed. He was in a main event storylines. He was world champion. He was feuding with Evolution. So,
but that that the crowd goes nuts whenever that boom. Like even with the Austin with the glass breaking. Without the glass breaking, is Austin almost the same? I mean, that's an interesting thing to debate. Is Austin the same without that music too? It's part of the character, don't you think?
But remember, WWE fans are normally WWE fans, so they don't know Goldberg, and they don't know that boom, and they don't know all that.
Oh, come on. They knew Goldberg. Come on. You know that. We all watched those shows.
No, Tom, I'm going to say Tom didn't. Why is Avi not coming back on? I'm calling 3 and 4 in the call. We try to get him back because we need our judge. Oh, no, he's asked me what happened. I'm trying.
Duties if he if he can't fulfill his obligations.
Well, this has been an auspicious start to our anniversary show. He's restarting his computer, so we'll give him a few minutes. But as far as the topic of Goldberg goes, I think he was given the opportunities in his first run in WWE to get over, and he just didn't connect with the WWE fan base the way that he connected with the WCW fan base. And yeah, it might have been part of the way he was booked, but it's also
music. The whole package was screwed up, I think.
But it's more than just music. Don't think music makes the character.
Oh, of course. Look at Triple H. Look at
Triple H had different music throughout the years, and he still got over with them. It didn't matter what the song was.
Anyways, would Austin without the glass breaking, would that have been his over, you think? Would he have?
He was right. It helped him to get over. But once he was over, changing the music's not going to make him not be over.
The pops happened every time the glass broke, right, Tom? Don't you think? I mean, every time the glass broke, crowd went nuts, you know?
Went nuts, too.
Yeah.
So, no. I think Scott Hall said best in a shoot interview he did about Goldberg is, he was protected in WCW, didn't have very long matches, had a lot of squash matches. He wasn't on the microphone that much because he wasn't very good on the microphone. He had a lot of practice. And then what does WWE do? They book him to lose. They book him for long matches, and they make him be on the mic, which wasn't really Goldberg's character. He wasn't really an outspoken kind of guy. He was a man of few words. That was the mystique of the character. So no, I disagree. I think WWE booked him wrong, and I think they had it out for him.
Who did he lose to? Do you remember? Aside from, sorry, Brandon. Who did he lose to, Brandon? Do you remember?
Well, obviously he lost to Triple H because when Triple H got the title back. And then he lost. He beat Brock, right?
Yeah,
WrestleMania.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't lose that much. I don't think he lost, except for Triple H. I don't think he really lost. So you can't say that he wasn't booked right if he lost to one guy.
He's champion for like a year, right? Or am I crazy?
11 months, it was a couple. It was a couple of months. Oh. He won it in like SummerSlam, and then he lost it like 2 months later.
Oh, wow. I thought it was longer.
No, not at all. He didn't get it until the summer. Because, again, you have to build up who he was to the WWE audience. Because you got to always remember, in my opinion, WWE brings people in as if no one else knows them. There he is.
Where was I? What was I saying? Oh, so I was saying, just because WWE can't figure a way to keep a guy over, it's not the guy's fault. Back in 2001, Goldberg shows up, DDP shows up, and you saw what happened with DDP. DDP got a huge pop when he showed up. Had they kept the DDP angle going with Undertaker, that would have been a huge money angle. A Sting-Taker angle in 2001, 2002 would have been huge money. The problem with Vince, he's done this throughout his entire career, is that he doesn't like to take guys. Even with Ric Flair, he was burying Ric Flair at the end. People forget that. The truth of the matter is just Vince does not like taking guys unless it's a WWE creation, giving them the proper push.
So that brings it to the final point of the Goldberg conversation. Goldberg just won the title. Is he moving the needle now that he was? Thank you.
No. Goldberg is doing absolutely nothing for this, and I'll tell you right now, that's fucking karma coming back to them. The fact that they take the belt off Bray Wyatt, put it on Goldberg, now they're going to give it to Braun Strowman that no one's going to give a shit about. Braun Strowman is Big Show 2.0.
No way. He's going to retain the title. You bite your tongue.
Oh, stop.
You're going to retain.
Okay.
Let me tell you both of you something. The Goldberg train ended in March of 2001. Let's be honest. He didn't do anything when he came in 2003. The man has done nothing for this business. He's a name. That's all he is.
His WrestleMania 33 match was awesome with Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yeah. It was a mad classic.
Okay.
So, by the way, this pile of shit for the next 2 days has 18 fucking matches.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna go through the whole thing. I want to get through these couple of topics first. This is the big one, and this is the big one that we need to discuss. Kayfabe. Avi, what is kayfabe?
Kayfabe is the language and protection of the business, and the business as being predetermined, et cetera, if you will.
So if someone breaks kayfabe, it basically means that they're revealing that the wrestling business is a work, not a shoot.
It's like, as they say in movies, breaking down the fourth wall.
Okay. In 2020, is kayfabe dead?
In its original incarnation, yes. Is there a new kind of kayfabe? Yes. The original kayfabe died in 1989 when Vince basically went before the New Jersey Athletic Commission and said, yes, wrestling is predetermined, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The first dent in kayfabe, which I'm sure none of you guys watched when I sent you guys last night in the chat, was the 2020 investigation into wrestling back in 1985. That was your first real dent in the kayfabe. That was the first time anybody actually came out that was a former wrestler and showed how everything is done. Your final blow, 89, when Vince basically publicly stated, yes, everything is predetermined, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is a new level of kayfabe to a degree. They still protect the business to a degree. They don't sit there and bullshit with what goes on in the ring and stuff like that. So I think there's a new kayfabe. It's just not as the old one was where, no one's pretending to be enemies in real life anymore. Let's just put it that way. So it's a different kind of kayfabe, I feel.
My argument is that kayfabe has been dead since, like you said, 89, and that the fact that you have guys posting on their social media accounts, them hanging out together after fighting and being in a feud 2 days earlier. You got wrestlers not protecting their gimmicks or protecting the business anymore because they're posting their real names on their social media accounts and things of that sort. So my argument was kayfabe is dead. Izzy is saying, well, Izzy, what's your argument about it?
My argument is this. There's a new version of it. They like to work the smart marks in many ways. Say, like, someone's not going somewhere. They'll say, like, Matt Hardy, or they'll say their contract's ending, and then they actually re-sign. Stuff like that. They work the fans. And don't forget, you also, going back a little bit to the pipe bomb, that was a worked shoot. A worked shoot, like we were talking about, that's still kayfabe because it's not a real shoot. You're just, it's still part of a storyline. So in my eyes, it's just an evolution of kayfabe. It hasn't totally died.
I'll agree with that one. I think there definitely is a new variation of kayfabe where I think, it's not so much, it's almost like a wink wink where it's like, okay, it's predetermined. We know it's predetermined. You still don't know how we're doing this. And you really don't know if we really hate each other or not. Like now it's becoming more of playing the fans than it used to be. It's always been about playing the fans if you think about it. It was always like, okay, we're going to make this as real as possible. Now it's like, okay, it's not real. We know it's not real, but we're still going to pull the wool over your eyes and we're still going to mess with you. So it's a different kind of kayfabe.
All right, so my question to you, Av, is because what brought it up mostly was I think it was this past Monday where Taker did his little promo and he's using AJ's real name and, AJ went and used Mark Calloway and talked about his marriage. And that's why I'm like, there's no, they're doing work shoots, but by the fact that they're basically calling out The Undertaker, who they've protected as a kayfabe character for so long, and, revealing his marriage and his real name and all this, that to me is totally killing any kayfabe for the Undertaker character there was.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you completely. I think if anything, it adds to the kayfabe because now it's personal. It's not about characters now. Now you get it.
All right, so then I assume tonight we're not going to see the Dead Man or whenever they show this stupid match. They're going to go back to the American Badass if they're going to go more realistic.
I think that's what they're heading for in the first place. But you can see where the new kayfabe is that we're not just characters fighting. Now we're people fighting. So now we're messing with the fans again. Because it used to be, I'm just the character, you're just the character, we're going to go at it. But now we're throwing the character out the window. Now it might be real. We don't know that. Think about it. It's a new kayfabe.
Okay. I can concede to that. All right. This one is more Tom than it was Izzy. The name that's been in the business for 30 some odd years, Jim Cornette.
Oh.
Okay. Now, my argument is that Jim Cornette has not done anything more than any other manager or basically a writer in the business. Tom, your argument was basically that he's on the top 10 bookers of all time. Is that what you said? I think that's what you said, correct?
Yeah, it is.
All right, so what's your argument for Cornette?
When you think about every era, every big era since the 80s he's been a part of, I mean, he's trained a lot of big names. He's been in a lot of developmental territories. He's he's kind of always survived the test of time, where a lot of people have kind of gone with the wind and everything. Jim Cornette's always been there, and he's survived the test of time. He's one of the smartest people in the history of wrestling, and I think he's one of the best wrestling historians that we have.
Yeah, he's a historian because he's still living in 1987.
No, I can see where Tom is coming from. I mean, listen, he was in the booking committee for WCW from 89 to about 92. He booked Smoky Mountain for a long time. He started Attitude with Vince Russo. He was on the booking committee from 96 through about 98. He ran Ohio Valley Wrestling, which basically made Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, and John Cena. I mean, the guy's footprint is definitely in wrestling. His handprints are all over the product, so I can't disagree with that.
I'm not saying that he hasn't had his hands in the pot of professional wrestling. I'm just saying that he's not as this big monumental person as Tom is building him up to be.
I could just say he's not. Hold on. Look at the guys he's responsible for. Chris Jericho started in Smoky Mountain. The Gangsters started in Smoky Mountain. They made their mark in ECW. If you go even further than that, if you go to WCW days, it was the guy that really pushed Sting to the moon with Ric Flair back in the day. And if you want to come more further, John Cena, Randy Orton, Dave Batista, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, all came out of that camp from Smoky Mountain.
So you agree with Tom that could be in a top 10 of best bookers, best personalities in the history of professional wrestling?
I don't know if I put him in a category like that. I would put him as definitely one of the most influential people in the history of the business. I got to put him top 10. I mean, if you want me to break down a top 10 non-wrestler influential guys in the business, you got to put him top 10. Look at the people who have his handprints all over him. I mean, think of just look at this. Just this era alone is all from Jim Cornette, if you think about it. John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Dave Batista, just those four right there were all in some way or another trained by Jim Cornette. How can you not give him any credit for that alone?
Yeah, Brandon, how can you give him credit?
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve credit for being part of OVW, and he brought guys from Smoky Mountain, and they ended up being big in both WWE, WCW, and ECW. My argument was just that I don't think he is, this great person you were really building him up to be the other day on our chat.
But now, Brandon, now that I brought those names up to you, how can you say he's not?
No, you're right, and I can concede to you on that. I have no problem conceding.
This era alone, the last 20 years of wrestling, he's basically responsible for it.
And conceding to me as well.
What? Did you say, wait, 1 second, Tom, you said you're conceded? Is that what you just said?
No, I said, and are you conceding to me as well?
I'm conceding to the discussion and the debate.
I mean, if you're going to break down your most influential guys of all time, non-wrestlers, I mean, number one's obviously Vince McMahon. Number two, I'm going to, in any order. If you just want to throw guys out there, you got your Vince McMahon, you got Paul Heyman, Dusty Rhodes, he was a wrestler also. But if you want to go just non-wrestlers ever, just strictly by bookers, you got to go Vince, you got to go Paul Heyman, you got to put Jim Cornette in there. And I hate to say it, but even to a degree, you got to put Vince Russo in there also. I mean, he was an influence for a little while. A very small while. Was not a good influence, but he was definitely an influence.
Eric Bischoff, you got to put in there.
Definitely. See, to me, Vince Russo, part of the equation in wrestling history is that his footnote is that of negative. He showed you what not to do to make a wrestling federation successful. Because if you think about it, everything that worked in WWE was filtered out first. Everything he wanted to do in WWE is what you saw in WCW and later on in TNA, which was pure garbage.
So as long as you segue to that, I'm going to go back to Izzy. Izzy has a lot of boisterous claims about Vince Russo and his history of professional wrestling. So I'm going to let Izzy lay down his shoot about Vince Russo, and then I'm going to let Avi to completely destroy it because I know Avi's thoughts on it. But go ahead, Izzy.
Yes, our good friend Mr. Vic Venom came in and gave a whole bunch of storylines. Vince did filter them out. The fact is he still gave a bunch of storylines to Vince. Vince ran with it, and he was able to take down WCW. If he had the same filter in WCW, maybe he would have been more successful. So I agree with Avi's point that he totally wrecked WCW, even though I do think the powers that be and all that stuff, he was giving everybody an angle. I think Bill Bush kind of cut him short a little bit too soon. I think if he watched him play it out, he would have had more of a successful run in his first WCW run. His second run was garbage, but I think his first run could have gotten better if they didn't cut him down so soon. Just no one ever gave him a chance to let it play out. I mean, the ratings weren't that bad. I mean, the crowd wasn't, 98% less than it was. I mean, when he came back the second time, the crowd was done. I mean, Kevin Sullivan, destroyed them in between, the time in between. But Vince Russo definitely gave a lot of storylines to WWE.
Vince Russo's his own worst enemy. Had he not told WCW that he was going to have the ratings turned around in 6 months, they would have given him more time. He was the one making those boisterous claims, number one. Number two, the powers that be was a complete reincarnation of the Vince McMahon character. He tried to be WWE 2.0. That was the problem. And he came into WCW and made his own thing, made his own angles, and not copied everything he was doing in WWE, he would have been more successful.
Wait, Bill Bush, you don't think Bill Bush cut him short soon? I'm sorry. No.
This is where Vince Russo fucked himself.
Uh-huh.
If Vince Russo would have not made himself a booker, he would have been fine. Where he fucked up was when he made himself booker also. Vince Russo was a story writer, not a booker. He had Vince McMahon there booking the matches, saying, listen, here's the match. This is where the match needs to go. You need to get it there. That's what Russo needed. Russo needed someone to be a booker for him. The problem where WCW then fucked up is they thought Bischoff was a booker. Bischoff was not a booker. What WCW should have done was had either Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes as the booker, preferably Ric Flair at that point. Let Ric Flair be the booker, where he tells Vince Russo, here are the two guys that we have in an angle. Here's where they need to go. You need to get us there. That's how you filter out a writer in wrestling. That's what Vince has stopped doing, unfortunately, which is why the product is pure garbage now. But had Vince Russo came in and they basically said, listen, you're going to write for us, but Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes or Tony Schiavone or whoever else was there at the time, this is going to be your booker. You had Mike Graham there at the time. Mike Graham booked Florida Championship Wrestling for years. Mike Graham was on the booking committee for WCW back in the 90s. Mike Graham could have been a booker. So you had a booking people there that knew how to book. All they had to do was tell them straight out, listen, he's going to book, you're going to write. He's going to tell you what needs to happen, you're going to write it the way it needs to happen. Everything would have been fine then, because the truth of the matter is Vince Russo is a good wrestling writer. He's not a good booker. He's a good wrestling writer, though. He's not a good promoter. Let's be honest, his promotions, the cards he put together were garbage cards. Is he a good promoter? No. Is he a good developer of talent? No. Is he a good booker? No. But he's a good writer. And that's what you saw in WWE, where Vince is a great promoter. Vince knows how to book guys, but Vince needs a writer, which we're seeing right now. That's why Russo and Vince McMahon worked so well together. Had WCW really been smart about it and just waited it out for ECW to go away, they could have hired Paul Heyman to be their booker. Now imagine Vince Russo writing for Paul Heyman's booking. That's a whole different story. That's a whole different story. And that's where things went bad. People in the wrestling history, and Vince Russo's not the first one, that are good bookers but are not good writers, start writing. People that are great writers but not good bookers start booking. Perfect example why Dusty Rhodes was fired. Dusty Rhodes is a great booker, one of the greatest bookers of all time, great mind, invented War Games and many other matches like that. Late 87, early 88, Dusty Rhodes starts writing. And that's where NWA completely went to shit. Had Dusty Rhodes stayed with the booking and let whoever was doing the writing do the writing, everything would have been fine. And Vince Russo's no different. Had Vince Russo stuck to writing, let somebody else booked, WCW might still be around today. Because Vince Russo's not a bad writer. He's a bad booker.
All right, so Izzy's claim of Vince Russo single-handedly saved WWE. What say you of?
He was a big part of it. Here are the things that saved WWE. A, the NWO storyline running stale. Let's be honest. Had they stuck with Hogan, Hall, and Nash as a separate three-man team and not had half the freaking federation involved, that would have been a great stable, and that storyline probably got another 2 years out of it. It got too big, too convoluted. Then you got the LWO, then you got the Wolfpack and the Black and White. Became too complicated. That was one thing. WCW basically burnt itself out. Because why? They didn't have a writer. Kevin Sullivan's booking. Kevin Sullivan's a good booker. Eric Bischoff is writing with Tony Schiavone. Those guys should not have been writing ever. Had Kevin Sullivan stayed on the booking committee and let Kevin Sullivan book with Vince Russo's writing, things would have been different. So here are the things that killed WCW and turned the war around. A, WCW burning themselves out with the NWO, not building up really the cruiserweight division or only the young guys they had? You had the cruiserweight division with Mysterio, Psychosis, Juventud, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho, all these guys to build up on. They did nothing with them. So by not building up your mid-card and by keeping the NWO angle way too long and not building up your cruiserweights, which is what are the strengths, basically they did the opposite of ECW did. They, instead of showing the positive and minimizing the negatives, they showed everything and minimized the one positive thing they really had, which is the youth in the cruiserweight division. That being said, other things that took WCW out of the box. WWE adapting ECW style. Vince Russo's writing helped that. Bruce Pritchard's writing at the time helped that. Jim Cornette's writing at the time. Remember, the writing committee at that point was McMahon, Patterson, Pritchard, Russo, and Cornette. So their writing and basically adopting ECW as their main strategy, that also put them over the top. But there's also one other huge thing that put them over the top. It's the one thing that basically destroyed WCW. Steve Austin. Once Steve Austin got over the way he got over, that was a runaway train. And that had nothing to do with Russo's writing. That was a lot of McMahon over him more than anything else. Russo really didn't do much with the Stone Cold character. That was a lot more McMahon than anybody else, and really just Austin working it himself. You take the Stone Cold Steve Austin character out of WWE, WWE's not going to falter. I mean, think about it. Look at a Raw episode from, I'd say, April 98 through November 99. It was all based on Austin. You take Austin out of the equation, what are you going to have? You're going to have DX and you're going to have the beginnings of The Rock. The Rock's not going to take off. He was a filtered down effect because of Austin. The same way Randy Savage took off because of Hulk Hogan. Remember, when you have one big guy at the top, it's that filtered down economics almost. You have one big guy who's taken off, the other guys under him look that much bigger. When Hogan was at his apex, Savage looked bigger. DiBiase looked bigger. Andre was a great heel. Jake the Snake looked bigger. Once you got Hogan out of the equation, Jake the Snake didn't look that hot anymore, if you remember. A lot of guys kind of fell apart once Hulk Hogan went there. If you look at Austin, it was a trickle-down effect. Austin becomes big, Taker becomes bigger, Triple H becomes big, The Rock becomes big, so on and so forth. Kane doesn't become big unless Austin's around.
Yeah, that first blood match and all that brought him up to be, a main event kind of guy.
So the truth of the matter is, what killed WCW? Two things. On WCW's end, not having enough, intelligence to get away from the NWO angle, realizing they ran dry with it, pushing other guys. I'm watching Spring Stampede 99 the other day. Your main event is Hogan, Flair, DDP, Sting, 4 corners match for the title with Randy Savage as your referee. That should go down as one of the biggest matches ever, and it's a footnote in wrestling history if you think about it. Look at the star power in that
good match, too.
It was a great match.
It was good, too. Yeah.
That should have been one of the greatest matches of all time if you think about it. But because the NWO angle ran so dry and the company ran so dry and no ideas, that match barely scratches the surface. That should have been a main event for Starrcade. But also to go back to that, look at WCW's writing and how piss poor it became. Right? Let's just look at Goldberg winning the belt, right? Goldberg wins the belt July of 98. That match should have been a squash match. That match never should have been a free match on Nitro. That should have been your main event for Starrcade, which is their version of WrestleMania. That match that night should have been a squash. And then for Goldberg to get to Hogan at Starrcade should have been a build-up over 6-7 months, where your next pay-per-view after that, I believe, was it Bash at the Beach. Bash at the Beach should have been, Goldberg against Scott Norton. And then at Hog Wild should have been Goldberg against Buff Bagwell. Then at Full Brawl should have been Goldberg against Hall. And then at Halloween Havoc should have been Goldberg against Nash. And then they make another stipulation where Goldberg had to win World War III. And then the week before Starrcade, Goldberg has to beat Savage to get his final shot at Hogan, and he does. And then at Starrcade, he finally beats Hogan. That should have been written. And that showed how piss poor the writing in WCW was, because you had a great character in Goldberg. You had a character that could compete against Stone Cold Steve Austin in his rise. Because if you think about it, at one point, Goldberg was right at the point with Austin as far as popularity goes. And you could have built this guy up over a 6-month period to finally beat Hogan at Starrcade and start your new era. Just like Austin did with, just like McMahon did with Austin. And they blew it completely because of bad writing. If you had a good writer there that would have built that up, that whole situation goes much differently. And if you think about it, In Starrcade 98, when Goldberg loses, at that point, they buried Goldberg as a champion. He had one good match against DDP as champion. That was at Halloween Havoc. Otherwise, it was basically him getting jumped every single night on Nitro. There was no build-up for the guy.
Which kind of goes back to my original point earlier about Goldberg is that, you know, like you said, they never really get any real build-up in WCW either. And that's not going to transition. He became a name, but it never brought him over to, like, you know, a mainstream WWE audience either. And like you said, if Vince doesn't create it, he doesn't care for it.
Listen, I'll tell you right now, if Goldberg got brought up the right way, the correct way, that would give a new life to the NWO angle, if you think about it. Because now, remember, the NWO angle was based on what? Taking over WCW. Then it was based on NWO versus Sting. And then Starrcade 97 was a complete flop. At that point, the angle should have died. All of a sudden, Goldberg comes along. Goldberg single-handedly could have given a good year, maybe year and a half life to the NWO, if you think about it. Because the NWO, when it first comes in, it's big. Brandon, let's be honest. It was kicking the shit out of you guys at first.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You were watching Raw with fucking tears in your eyes every Monday night. You were so disgusted.
Won't go that far, but yeah, I get your point.
All right, it was bad. NWO was the big in thing. So NWO now, they shit the bed with the Sting Hogan Starrcade 97 situation, right? And at that point, the NWO should have died. But now Goldberg is coming along, and Goldberg is bigging up. And if you had any logical writing, you look at it and you say, okay, you just got new life because of Goldberg. Now it's Goldberg versus the NWO. You can effectively kill off the NWO now by having Goldberg go through the entire NWO. Like I said, that night in July, him and Hogan, complete squash, he gets jumped, the crowd's going to riot, who cares? You're getting heat now. Goldberg now is your real face. The NWO now is are back in charge as your main heels. And now at every Nitro, at every pay-per-view for the next 6 months, he's going to decimate somebody from the NWO. He'll have a good match with Hall because Hall can definitely carry him. He'll have a decent match with Nash because Nash is a big guy and you like to go big guy against Goldberg. Savage definitely could have carried him at some point. And then eventually Starrcade, you have him against Hogan. And in the meantime, he goes against Scott Norton. He goes against Big Papa Pump. He goes against Buff Bagwell. He goes against anybody else from the NWO you could throw against them. And week by week, he tears apart the NWO until that moment at Starrcade where he defeats Hogan. The NWO is gone. And now you're starting 1999 with Goldberg as your champion in a brand new era. NWO disappears. They come back repackaged. You have a new feud with him and Hogan, a new feud with him and Savage, a new feud with him and Sting, whatever it might be. But you've now just breathed brand new life into WCW with just doing one thing that WWE doesn't do anymore. Logical story writing. Back to WrestleMania. You just put Braun Strowman against Goldberg with no build-up whatsoever. A week, was it 2 weeks ago? You just fucking squashed Goldberg in a 3-on-1 match. And now he's in your world title match. And you're about to give him the world title and do what with him now?
Exactly. That shocked me. The fact that I figured they were going to shoot some sort of angle. I mean, and that's kind of, it kind of goes hand in hand with the whole, kayfabe question I had. You mean, yeah, you have it all over that, Roman Reigns decided to sit out WrestleMania. But still, within your bubble at WWE, you're still going to try to do some sort of kayfabe. You don't even do a storyline announcing Braun. You just say, oh, Braun's going against Goldberg now. And that's it.
Think about it, WWE is doing what WCW did in the 90s, where it's like, we're not going to write anything. We're just going to give you something instead of writing an actual story. Had they gone WCW back in 98, from July of 98 to December of 98, you had a storyline presented right in front of you. Your NWO situation has run stale. Nobody cares about the NWO anymore. You have to kill it off at this point. And even if you take the Starrcade fiasco out of the equation, let's be honest. By July of 98, the NWO gimmick had been going on for 2 years now. There was only so much you could do with it. But now you can kill it. Effectively kill it. And start a brand new era with Goldberg in 99 as your world champion, going head-to-head, keeping your ratings because Goldberg was still a draw at that point. But now look at it. You could put him against Sting, DDP, Savage, Hogan, Hall, Nash. That's 6 pay-per-views right there in the main event. And guess what? WWE was presented with the same thing. If you look at Bray Wyatt as The Fiend, you could have started a brand new era with The Fiend, and you completely dropped the fucking ball for no reason. Look at all the guys that The Fiend could have gone against in one-on-one matches. You didn't need great matches for The Fiend. The character was good enough. People just wanted to see the character. The same way Goldberg wasn't giving you good matches in WCW in the 90s. People wanted to see the character. Austin wasn't giving you great matches. People wanted to see the character. It's a character-driven business. You could be the greatest worker of all time. If you have no character, nobody's going to give a shit. That's the bottom line. And with Austin and Goldberg back then, people wanted to see. People wanted to see what Austin was going to do with McMahon next. People wanted to see who was next with Goldberg. People want to see Bray Wyatt, what was going to happen next with that character. And you guys totally shit the bed. You took the one character that you finally made where people are like, oh shit, what's this guy going to do next? And you shit the bed with it. You put the fucking belt on Goldberg, and now you're going to have him go against fucking Braun Strowman? Wow. Good luck with that.
Not according to Tom. Tom thinks it's going to be, another classic for WrestleMania with no crowd.
I think it's going to be all, hey, you know what? They're doing what no other sports are giving the people right now. They're keeping on, and they're entertaining people. All right? I can't in the world.
You know what? They shouldn't have. I'm going to tell you right now. They shouldn't have. This empty arena shit does not work. Wrestling is character-driven, and it's also arena-driven. The crowd reaction is what makes things great. Okay? If Austin jumps off that Zamboni and goes punching McMahon for a dead crowd, you're not getting the same reaction. That was one of the biggest pops in the history of wrestling. All right? The pop is what makes everything complete. You look at the greatest pops in wrestling, Hogan in 87, Austin in 98, The Rock in 2000. There's a reason those pops are so memorable, because that's what wrestling is. It's all about the crowd reaction. What they should have done for the last 3 weeks is going on, feels like much longer, but it is, a best of. They could have had the best 10 best Raw matches of all time, 10 best SmackDown matches of all time, 10 best Raw tag team matches of all time, 10 greatest WrestleMania matches ever, 10 greatest IC title matches ever, 10 greatest SummerSlam, Survivor Series, what have you. You have 8 billion hours of wrestling footage you could have shown. WrestleMania should have been postponed. If you wanted to do something on tomorrow, you could have done the 50 greatest WrestleMania matches for a 5-hour show. You know what? I probably would have watched it, to be quite honest with you. If you would have given me a 50 greatest WrestleMania match show, I probably would have watched it. Now, granted, you have to dedicate an hour to Hart and Michaels by itself, so you're looking at a 5-hour show, but still, I would have watched it. Or you could have done the greatest match from each WrestleMania special, where for the last 4 weeks, they could have taken votes from the fans, and they voted on their favorite match from each WrestleMania, and you show one match from each WrestleMania the fans voted for. You could have done that. There's no reason to have an empty arena WrestleMania today and tomorrow to torture us with 8 hours worth of garbage.
Do you think if none of this happened and they were still having WrestleMania, normally it would have been 2 days, or probably most likely not?
No. I think at some point it was going to have to go 2 days. I think it would have given us a regular 16, 17 match WrestleMania. My biggest issue with it, though, is that if you really look at it, what is your hottest storyline going into WrestleMania now? Styles and Taker?
To me, it was Drew and Brock before all this happened.
It's not a lot to work with, though. That's the whole problem. I mean, listen, they probably could have built it up more, given more time. But, listen, at the end of the day, WWE made the bigger mistake. I'm reading, by the way, that AEW has months and months of footage they've already taped.
Yeah, I was reading something like that. They've been taping a lot of stuff like over the last week and so they have shows to put out.
Smart move on their part. I like what they did with the empty arenas. It was better than that Performance Center empty arena nonsense. But I think WWE, Vince shit the bed where he probably should have seen maybe this was coming and just canned a whole bunch of shit in front of a crowd.
Tom, I know you're very happy with WWE right now. You're very happy with how, they've been presenting their product. So what say you about the whole empty arena and a pre-taped, pre-edited WrestleMania?
Look, I keep saying it, man. When life gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade, and they're doing the best they can. I mean, this is unprecedented times.
They're not doing the best they can. I'm stopping you right now. They're not doing the best they can. The best they can would have been digging into their library and putting together things.
I disagree. They're giving us new, fresh stuff. They're entertaining us. They're doing what no other sports enterprise is doing right now, giving us live entertainment.
But they're not giving us good live entertainment.
And it's live.
Like, it's not even good. I would rather see a compilation of old stuff that's good than the crap they're putting on now. It's not good.
I disagree. I think it's been very good.
You're insane. There's nothing good going on right now.
All right, before we're going to review WrestleMania, but before we do that, real quick, you reminded me of one more thing I forgot to actually write down. Bray Wyatt, is he a ripoff of Mankind? According to Izzy and Tom, because he uses the mandible claw and wears a mask that makes him exactly like Mankind.
Yep.
He's not over either. He's not over.
How can you say he's not over? He's the only person that is over.
No, here's my question to you, and I have to ask you personally here. The man, obviously Vince McMahon felt the need to take the title off of him. So why did Vince do it? That's my question. Pick his mind. Try to pick his mind. You're Vince McMahon. Why did you just take the title off of Bray Wyatt if he's so over?
Goldberg, because they were trying to do the ESPN deal, and ESPN want the names.
Goldberg's better.
That's interesting.
No, Goldberg's not better. Goldberg has been around for 20 years. It's the same way. I'm going to say this. It's the same way Tom wants to throw out that WWE's on ESPN and why is AEW not? It took WWE 50 years to get to ESPN. They've been around 50 times longer than AEW has been in existence.
And I hope AEW doesn't survive the storm because they suck.
They're going to survive the storm, you hating sack of shit. The fucking WWE, if anything, is freaking putting the business into the burial ground. AEW is presenting stuff that's at least freaking entertaining. WWE is torturous. 18 matches in the next 2 days. And there's not even one match that's like, oh my God, we have to see this.
I disagree 100%. There's
of
at least
course you
four.
do.
Well, can I just ask you guys a question real quick before you jump to WrestleMania? Why did Vince? I mean, he's going to lose a couple of million. I guess maybe he doesn't give a shit, but
more like 7 or 8.
He's losing out on millions of dollars for what? Well, why not postpone it? I don't understand. Explain why.
Because he wants to be that guy. He just wants to be that guy.
Because we don't know what's going to happen with this whole quarantine thing, and we never know if the world's going to end or not. I mean, you New Yorkers in New York, you guys have so many freaking cases because, it's crazy up there. Who knows if it's going to spread and get worse? So you know what? This may be the last opportunity to ever have WrestleMania in the history of mankind.
But we're not having WrestleMania. We're having trash. This is not WrestleMania. This is trash.
Yeah, come on. It's the name WrestleMania, but this isn't WrestleMania. Come on. There's no WrestleMania feel whatsoever this weekend.
Well, when Drew McIntyre holds that title over his head, it'll feel like WrestleMania.
In dead silence. In dead silence, he's gonna hold that title over his.
Oh yeah, of course. This is just
like watching wrestling school.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. They asked a bunch of NBA and NHL players if they'd want to play the rest of the season in front of empty arenas. They all said no, it's not the same. The fans is what really drives everything. The people's reactions. When there's no reaction, it's not wrestling.
Tom, you can disagree with what WWE's doing. They're not going to stop you for your network subscription. I promise. They're not going to punish you. Vince will be okay.
I'll be honest, I haven't looked forward to WrestleMania in a while, but I watched it. This is the first time where I'm like, wow, I'm going to watch it. Because, honestly, what else am I going to do with myself? if this was a normal Saturday night and this was on, I wouldn't watch this. I'd go out. I'd come back tomorrow and watch it.
Well, let's get to it. Hold on, I had it pulled up here. Well, they announced today 2 kickoff matches, and they're bar burners, but I'm sure Tom's going to defend them. Liv Morgan against Natalya.
Awesome.
And actually, this can be a good wrestling match. Drew Gulak against Cesaro.
But it won't be.
No, but it could be.
Right, because Cesaro, they ruined Cesaro.
Tom, what do you say?
I think they can both be excellent matches. I think Natalya, she's got the heart name, the technical wrestling down. I think she can put on a great match. And I think Cesaro can carry anybody to a good match. But Drew Gulak's very underrated. He's got great in-ring skills, and I think this is going to captivate a lot of people to want to see more. So I think that this is an excellent opening spot.
No. My question to you is, did WWE ruin Cesaro?
Yes.
What?
That guy could have been a world champion.
I think Cesaro's overrated.
Oh, God. Okay. Women's tag team title match, Kabuki Warriors against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
Big fan of Kabuki Warriors. I think they're the best. They're the best thing in women's wrestling right now.
I think they're good. I like the Kabuki Warriors, but this match is not one that's going to be great.
I mean, I like the fact that they've this is one thing I'll give them credit for. They've taken a negative with Asuka and they've turned into a positive. The language barrier was something that, was preventing her from getting a big push. So now they've embraced it. She's not trying to cut English promos. She's just rambling on in Japanese. And to me, that's getting more over than if she was cutting an English promo.
Agreed. I think this is the best work she's done since she's been in the Fed. I like her facial reactions, and I think her facial reactions are awesome.
I think she's one of the best workers in WWE right now.
Yeah, but they had blown it with her for 2 years since she came to the main roster. Even last year, they gave her the freaking title, and then they took it off a week before WrestleMania. So, to me, that's you know what? That's a good point. I'm going to bring that. That's, to me, the same thing they did with Bray Wyatt and Goldberg.
Keep it fresh.
It's not keeping it fresh. Asuka was over. Asuka had it for a month. Keep it fresh. Asuka was over with the fans. I assume you're laughing because he's referring to Goldberg as fresh.
Oh, that's awesome.
I assume that's why you're laughing, because he just called Goldberg fresh. My point is, last year leading to WrestleMania, Asuka was the women's champion. She was over as champion as a face, and they took it off her to add to WrestleMania in that triple threat with Ronda and Becky. It's the same thing. It's not a point of Bray Wyatt not being over. It was a point of Vince seeing that it being a bigger match because of Goldberg's name value against Roman Reigns. And on top of it, when he changed the match from Roman against Bray to Bray against Cena, to me that didn't need the title in the picture. So I think that's another reason that he made the title switch. I don't think it was a detriment against Bray or that Bray wasn't over. I think it was just Vince changing his mind like Vince does.
I think he was trying to add some twists and turns to keep it fresh, keep the product.
Dude, he's 53 years old. He's not fresh. That's like you saying the piece of cheese that's growing mold in your freaking refrigerator is fresh. Stop already. Anyway, originally we were supposed to have a triple threat ladder match for the tag team titles on the 20th anniversary of the original triple threat tag team ladder match, mind you. But because Miz is quarantined, it's now going to be Morrison against Jimmy Uso against Kofi Kingston for the tag titles in the ladder match. So there's not even tag teams involved. It's 3 guys in a ladder match for the tag titles. And
what they would do is they would have the best warriors represent entire armies, okay? And they would go one-on-one against the other best warriors for the other armies. So you know what? In the spirit of that, I'm cool with it.
Of course. Okay, I'm going to call this match the Coco Beware match of WrestleMania. It's a match that was put together with absolutely no build and no reason, but it's Aleister Black and it's Bobby Lashley.
Jesus
It's going to
Christ.
be awesome.
And like, oh my God, I can't. And like I said, I call it the Coco Beware match because, back at like a WrestleMania 6, it would have like Coco Beware against Rick Martel. There was no reason for the match, no rhyme, no storyline, but it's just there because it's WrestleMania. The Raw Tag Team titles, the Street Profit against Angel Garza and Austin Theory from NXT.
Going to be awesome.
Before I go on, is anything not going to be awesome in your eyes, Tom, for WrestleMania?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet that hasn't. So You got to keep.
Oh yes,
You got to keep.
yes. I forget. Tom has his sources, and I use sources with a grain of salt. Just for the record, I'm putting Tom on blast here. According to him, in an empty arena at WrestleMania, CM Punk is returning.
Actually, do you guys think that the guy on SmackDown was CM Punk?
No, it's Ali.
That's what I figured.
That blue circle thing has been Ali's little, freaking bat signal thing he's had on his chest.
You know, let's heat off WrestleMania for a moment. Let's talk about the vanilla midget main event scene we have in AEW right now.
The hate. Izzy, this is deflecting. This is the pure definition of deflecting right now. For the record, we're talking about WrestleMania and how shitty it's going to be. So Tom is deflecting on trying to bash AEW when this has nothing to do with AEW.
And Jake
It's
Swagger.
deflecting, Tom. I mean, it's going to be shitty. It's going to be shitty, Tom.
So Izzy, my question is are you and I on agreement that is deflecting?
That is definitely, I have to say, the one time I might agree with you is that is classic deflecting.
All right. Okay. The one match that honestly I could say has a storyline: Otis against Dolph Ziggler.
That's going to be awesome. Because the truth came out last night.
Actually, I do want to see that match. I do want to see that match.
I mean, they basically turned Mandy face last night by showing that it was, DeVille who was sending the text messages to Otis to fuck with the whole situation. So obviously, Beauty's going to get with the Beast. I mean, we want to see it, but I think it's a little predictable what's going to happen.
Good. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. What can really help WWE in the ratings is if they do what Edge and Lita did in 06 and they have sex to celebrate the match on Raw.
Listen, that would help the fucking ratings, let's be honest.
Well, they can't get worse. They went under...
Brandon's the only one that doesn't want to see Mandy Rose naked.
Oh, yes, exactly. I want to see Otis naked. That's why. I mean, the ratings can't get much worse. Raw was under 2 million this week, so, Okay. I know. I'm waiting for Tom to say this is going to be awesome. Elias against Baron Corbin.
That is going to be awesome.
It's going to be a hard-hitting match.
It's gonna put Steamboat Savage to shame. Oh my God. Kevin Owens against Seth Rollins.
Got potential to be a good one.
I'll give you that.
Kevin Owens. Seth Rollins could be a good match. That's one of those sleeper matches that if they let those guys really go all out, that could be a good match.
That's what I'm going to say one thing. I hope that's what they're going to end up doing. I hope they're not going to put the handcuffs like they have normally put on their talent for this WrestleMania and just let them be and let them work the way they want to work. I mean, they're editing the whole fucking thing anyway. It's not like it's live, so they could, cut it down for time. But I hope they just let them rip. We have a 5-way for the SmackDown Women's title. Bayley against Sasha Banks against Lacey Evans against Tamina against Naomi.
It's going to be got potential.
Potential to suck. Yes, I agree. This is another match that honestly I could say could be a sleeper. Sami Zayn against Daniel Bryan.
Excellent.
Yeah, that could be a good match.
Right. This is the other storyline I feel they've been hitting a home run with. Randy Orton against Edge in a last man standing match.
It's going to be awesome.
That could be good, yeah.
And I'm going to say this. This might be the one positive for Edge is they can do this as a brawl instead of him taking bumps, and it could protect his neck.
Yeah.
As we talked about, AJ Styles against The Undertaker in a boneyard match, which, as from what I understand, is basically a cemetery match, but they didn't want to use the term cemetery. On top of the fact, basically from The Undertaker's implication on his promo, that it's going to be a 3-on-3 because he told them to bring the OC, and he's got a unholy trinity. So I'm assuming Kane will be part of that, but I don't know who the third one would be.
Foley.
Maybe.
That would be awesome.
That would be pretty cool, actually, if Kane and Foley did show up.
Yeah. Then we got, now we're getting to the top of the card. So we got the NXT Women's title, Rhea Ripley against Charlotte.
That could be a good match.
Yep.
Could be excellent.
I think Charlotte's going to do the honors for Rhea to help put her over.
She better.
And what's going to be, this is the match they said is basically going to be a movie, is the Bray Wyatt against John Cena in a Firefly Funhouse match.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this.
So we're going to have matches that are basically movies for WrestleMania. One of the matches that has not changed since Jump Street is Becky Lynch against Shayna Baszler.
That could be a good match. I'm not into Becky, but that could be a good match.
Yep. You know what I'm hearing a lot of? I'm hearing a theme here, fellas. I'm hearing a lot of, hey, that could be a good match.
But that's the point. It could be, but it won't be.
Yeah, if there was a crowd, these matches could be good. But like Avi has said in the past few weeks, you need to play to a crowd. When you do a rest hold, it's to get the crowd pumped. When Hulk Hogan was always put in that submission hold and he was going down and they did the 3-arm lift that Hogan had to do the finger at the end. Without a crowd, what does that do?
You and your crowds. Crowds are overrated.
Oh, my God.
You explain to Tom how important the crowd is?
You need a crowd. You need a pop. You need the energy. It's psychology is really important too, because that's how you work. You got to work the crowd. That's a big part of being a heel. They teach you in wrestling school. If you can't work a crowd, what the hell do you have? How do you get people to feel bad? What, you're hoping that the people at home feel bad for the face? I mean, there's nothing to work. It's dead. It's like watching a match in wrestling school. It's crazy. It's like watching a clinic.
On top of the fact, you need a crowd to gauge if something is going over or not. If they continue to push it. Without a crowd, you can't gauge an audience to know what's working and what's not.
Yeah, overrated.
Okay. And then we talk about the cold match of Goldberg against Braun Strowman, and then the main event most likely is going to tomorrow night. It'll be Brock Lesnar against Drew McIntyre.
I can't wait.
And again, Drew against Brock has the potential. Whether it happens or not, we got to wait and see.
I kind of hope Brock retains.
I want Brock to retain. I'm going to tell you why. Because I think Drew should have a opportunity to win the title in front of fans to get that WrestleMania, that winning pop. So I hope they push Drew off until SummerSlam or September or whenever the next time they could.
On that one. I'm definitely with you on that one.
So I'll be okay if Brock wins on this because Drew deserves to win it in front of a crowd with an audience and get that pop. I mean, how are they going to do this? I mean, they put together these packages every year, these beautiful packages of WrestleMania moments and stuff, and you see all these things. Shawn Michaels coming down at WrestleMania 12 with the crowd going nuts. So you're going to add into these moments of WrestleMania into these packages with crickets? All right, Tom, I'm really going to say I think you're the only one who's okay with them not postponing WrestleMania.
Well, you know what? That's fine. I'm unique. I'm the only non-mark in here, so.
You actually are showing you are the ultimate mark in here.
All you supposed wrestling purists can't see past your own purity and all the. I think you guys are still living in 1987. I think you guys are all still living in the 90s. I'm living for today, and I'm living for tomorrow.
Right. How I'm gonna call to ask you how are we living in the 90s exactly? Because we want to have WrestleMania in front of a live crowd. That's living in the 90s.
All I hear you guys talk about is back in the 90s and back during this and back during that. You're not talking about today.
Okay, today no one gives a shit about Goldberg. Okay. Today WWE is presenting a WrestleMania in front of nobody that's going to blow. So, yeah, okay, you want to talk about today? Let's talk about today. Today, AEW is putting on a better product in an empty arena than WWE is, and it don't matter what your mark ass says, it is the God-honest truth.
AEW is are you talking about fucking whack-ass Brody Lee pretending to be Vince McMahon? Oh, yeah, I'm blown away. That's awesome. You're right. I stand corrected.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. WWE's never put out characters based on anyone from another federation, right?
Nope.
Come on. You are such a hypocrite, bro. Let's get to it. The ratings have been dropping on all wrestling shows all around. AEW, NXT, WWE. Is this strictly do you feel because of no crowds, empty arenas, everything, the shit running downhill with everything that's going on in the world? Or is this a sign that there's just something wrong with professional wrestling altogether?
Nah, just the empty arenas. With an empty arena, you can't further an angle. The crowd gives you the indication of how hot the angle is. Simple as that. Take the crowd away and put the NWO in an empty arena in 1987, no one's going to give a shit.
So, Izzy and Tom have been going on that, Tony Khan is a con man and that the Brody Lee thing with the Dark Order is, has fallen flat on its face. And my argument is you can't say that because we don't know, because we don't have a crowd to gauge it.
Agreed. I do have to agree with that one.
Guys,
once the crowd comes...
They hyped him for weeks. They hyped him for weeks, months, and to me, it's like another gobbledygooker. The guy, it turned out to be nothing. Why hype him if it's just going to be a low mid-card guy then? Why hype him? It's like 8s and 8s.
We haven't heard the crowd reaction yet.
It sucks.
First off, that's not true. I guarantee you, if it was in front of the crowd, everyone knows who Brody Lee is. Everyone knows who Luke Harper is. Anyone who's watched wrestling the last 6 years knows he's part of the Wyatt family. It's not some guy coming out of the indies that no one recognizes. So for you to claim that it's freaking nobody is a joke. Second off, Avi, would you explain to Izzy that the Dark Order is not the NWO? This was never meant to be a main event angle. This is a mid-card tag team angle.
Yeah, it is. It's a mid-card angle. That's all it is.
Izzy is under Wait, Izzy, let me finish. He's under some impression that this is the NWO reborn in AEW and that the Dark Order is going to start adding new members and they're going to build themselves up and they're going to take over AEW.
It's a mid-card. It's a stupid mid-card little angle. That's all it is. It's not a major thing.
Yeah, but I got to say something, though. There, you had the whole swarm of guys with the masks that started getting cool. So my question is, let's say, I know you're going to go crazy, but let's say the Exalted One was CM Punk. That would have changed wrestling right now.
No, nothing's going to change wrestling right now. There's no crowds.
So you would have
you would have
CM Punk debut as the Exalted One in an empty arena.
Yes. Well, the empty. I mean, you can't.
You just said yes. You just said yes.
The empty arena thing, nobody expected that. I mean, what can you do? It's ruining wrestling right now. The empty arena thing. It's ruining the crowd. There's no crowd. It's killing the product.
And according to Brody Lee, Tony Khan asked him, do you want me to push off your debut until after all this is over? And Lee said, no, let's move forward. AEW is moving forward with their storylines under the situation. WWE isn't even putting storylines into WrestleMania. They're just making matches for no reason. That's something that's the problem here. Crowd or not, they're not even trying.
It's unique. What do you do without a crowd? You've lost the crowd. You've lost the biggest part of wrestling.
There's nothing you can do. You're doing the best you can, but to judge an angle with no crowd is ridiculous. The crowd's what tells you if it's working or not.
That's been my point for the last 2 weeks. You can't say that.
Yes and no.
No, period. You can't tell.
No, but I'm saying the crowd in AEW is unique. It's hot. It's a hot crowd in AEW. It's very unique.
There's no crowd.
I know. It's so bad.
There's no crowd. You can't gauge anything without a crowd.
I know.
So if there's no crowd, how can you say that this Exalted One angle is a failure? How can you say that the Matt Hardy debut and whatever's going on with Matt Hardy is a failure if you have no way to judge it?
Well, the thing is that it's hard to say because AEW in general has a very hot crowd. They'll cheer for anything, which is really nice for the product. But I mean, is it going to move the needle for AEW? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Matt Hardy.
You can't judge an angle with no crowd.
Yeah, I know.
When you give your tickets away for $6, people are going to be pretty excited and fill up the arena. Eventually, the honeymoon phase is going to end.
Every crowd for the last 5 months has been hot, Tom. You want to try to throw some shade that, they're selling tickets for $7? They're a brand new promotion. No, yeah, they sold tickets to the first show in D.C. for $7 a piece. Why? It was their very first show.
They did do a bunch of other places, too. Philly, Boston, a bunch of other shows, too.
Tom, you're an AEW hater. We get it. Move on with the card, Brandon.
That's it. That's 18 matches.
I mean, it is what it is. Listen, we'll watch it. We'll try to enjoy it, and we'll discuss it. And we'll have a recap show when it's all said and done.
Yep.
I'll look forward.
Avi, let's reflect now. It's been a year since you and I started this podcast. What's your reflection?
Last year at this time, you had no AEW. You had... We were coming upon WrestleMania, where the main event, refresh my memory.
The main event was Becky and Ronda and Charlotte.
God.
You
Speaking of which, so I got this list today, by the way, guys. I wanted to bring this up at the end. Forbes top 10 highest paid wrestlers of 2019. Number 1, Brock Lesnar, 10 million. This is all before taxes, by the way. Number 1, Brock Lesnar, 10 million. Number 2, Roman Reigns, 5 million. Number 3, Randy Orton, 4.1 million. Number 4, Seth Rollins, 4 million. Number 5, Triple H, 3.3 million. Number 6, shockingly, Becky Lynch, 3.1 million. Number 7, Goldberg, 3 million. Number 8, Shane McMahon, 2.1 million. Number 9, Stephanie, 2 million. And number 10, Braun Strowman, 1.9 million. Those are your top 10 highest guys in WWE this past year.
So you're paying Braun Strowman over $1 million and you're blowing it with him. Awesome. Cool.
But I can reflect on one thing as well. You know, this time last year when you guys were starting your podcast, I was in jail.
See? Tom's looking up already.
There you go. Well, you know what? For Tom, you know, it's always sunny in Philadelphia, as they say, right, Tom?
That's right. Hey, you live in Philadelphia, so you can tell me how sunny it is right now.
Well, I live outside of Philly, and the sun is out. The sun is out today. So, guys, we're going to get this up. WrestleMania kickoff show is actually in about 13 minutes. We honestly have no idea how they're splitting the matches. Nothing's been announced. You know, I don't know how what we're going to see today. I don't know what we're seeing tomorrow. I don't know what they're going to present as the main event for tonight. Yeah, we're basically going into a blind WrestleMania.
That's the way I like it.
So let's close this out, Izzy. let's close the show out with this, Izzy. What are you looking forward most to WrestleMania this weekend?
I mean, it's going to be such a freaking unique experience. I don't know if there's anything I'm really looking forward to. I hate watching wrestling with no crowd. It's like watching wrestling school. I'm just hoping for the best. I'm going to watch it because I'm a fan, but that's really it. I mean, it's terrible that they're doing the show. That's all I can really say.
All right. Tom, I know this is going to be very difficult for you to pinpoint one thing, but what is the one thing for WrestleMania that you are looking forward to?
God, there's so many to choose from. Honestly, Otis. I want him.
All right, so you're all in for the Otis Mandy storyline.
Oh, I'm all in.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'm with that too.
He finally admits he's all in. I knew you were an in the closet AEW fan.
Oh my God.
Av, what are you looking forward to most? I guess you're gonna go with Otis and
Otis.
Mandy.
Yeah, Otis.
For me,
Yeah, we're unanimous on that.
Yeah, I'm going to see where they go with the Otis Mandy thing. I'm also interested on how they play out the whole Randy Orton Edge thing. So those are my two things I'm looking forward to most for WrestleMania. Otherwise, to me, and I'm sure Avi agrees with me, there really isn't much to WrestleMania. Tom says this is going to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time. So you know what? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. And Tom, I just want to say, as much as you're predicting CM Punk returns to an empty arena tonight, Izzy has predicted CM Punk comes to AEW about 4 times in the last year.
Five times.
5 times. Oh, I'm sorry. It's been 5 times, and he hasn't been right yet. So I guess we'll see what's going to happen.
Half-rate wrestling promotion.
Oh, please, half rate.
Hey guys, do you ever think it would be so sad that we're actually looking forward to the one match at WrestleMania we're looking forward to is an Otis match, even though we love him? That's the match we're looking forward to at WrestleMania.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to tell you this, though, and this is a good point that Avi brought up about Bray Wyatt. We're like Otis for the character, not because he's a freaking great in the ring. So it's the same thing. It's character-driven, like Avi has said. So, you know, if you don't have a character, you could be... Shelton Benjamin is a great in-ring worker, but he has no character. He has no personality, and that's why he's not around. So, it's character-based, and the fact that Otis is getting over as a character. I feel bad for his tag partner because that's going to be the Jannetty of this duo. That's for shit sure.
You know what it is? Otis hits a nerve with a lot of people. What is he? He's a jolly fat guy who's trying to get laid from a really hot chick. And how many jolly fat guys have tried to do it and fell on their face? But guess what? This may be the one guy that pulls off the miracle.
I just hope Mandy can pull off a face. I feel she's kind of like the Miz where, she's just a born heel.
Nah, I think if anything, this might be the greatest thing to happen in Mandy's career. I think she's going to get crazy over with this. They could become the Macho Man and Liz for our generation. Who knows?
Do you think it's also going to help Sonya Deville get over?
I think she's going to be the Jannetty of this whole situation. I think this is the end of Sonya Deville.
I want to see her and Tucker Knight get together as the jealous partners and go heel against a face, Otis and Mandy.
Yeah, I think that Deville and I think Tucker are getting screwed over on this one.
But that's what happens in WWE. To WWE, it's more important to be singles. If you're a tag team, it's very rare for you to stay the course without becoming a singles guy.
Yep.
Well, happy anniversary of.
Happy anniversary.
1 year for our beautiful podcast. We've grown from 2 to 4 apparently. We have children now, in Tom and Izzy. And we're going to continue to grow, and we're going to present a lot more content over the next year, and we're going to keep on rolling, and we're going to get through this like everyone else out there in the world. And once wrestling gets back to where it should be, it should hopefully get better.
With that, I'll be watching in a few minutes. Izzy, you're watching tonight? Izzy?
I'm here. I'm here. For some reason my camera's off. Yeah. I'm watching. Yeah, for sure. Maybe I'll swing through and watch you.
With good breath. Brandon, you watching tonight?
Yeah. What else am I going to do?
All right, guys. Talk later.
Well, we know Tom's definitely watching. And guys, WillYouStopPodcast.com. Hit us up on social media. Subscribe, like, hit that link. Join us every week. As by hook or by crook, we're going to bring you shows and we're going to discuss professional wrestling with you. Thanks for listening, guys. And we'll see you next week when I'm sure we'll be talking post-Empty Arena WrestleMania.